How to clear theory papers without cramming. If you take a random sample of 100 CA students who failed, you will not be wrong to estimate that 70% of them failed because of theory papers. With problem papers, you have a clear feedback system. You either know amalgamation or you don't know amalgamation. But with respect to theory papers, the issue is even after having a reasonable idea about that particular topic, you will still not be able to convert that into marks in the actual exam. Students know about SA 500. Students know enough about breach of contract, but still students won't be able to convert that base knowledge into marks in final auditing, inter auditing, or foundation law. Now, is there a solution? Yes, there is a solution, and it is 100% practical. I'm not going to give you any psychological trick or abstract solution. It is not going to be theoretical. It is 100% practical that you can implement right away at the end of this video. But to make the most of the solution that I'm going to share, we need to clear some myths and set some ground rules. So the myth number 1 is you start to think that you have a bad memory. If you are having this sort of a preconceived notion that I have poor memory, others are able to score well in theory papers and I'm not able to because my memory is not so great. If you have such self-limiting thoughts, then I would ask you to reconsider it. Let's take this scenario. We are having a conversation with each other and I asked you to talk about your most favorite movie. Will you not talk about that movie for at least 4 to 5 minutes? It is exactly like that. If your answer was yes to the previous question, you don't have poor memory. And don't give me this argument that talking about a movie is different, talking about Companies Act is different. No, there is no separate place in your memory system for remembering movies in a different way, remembering provisions of Companies Act in a different way. No such thing like that. Memory works the same way for remembering everything. Therefore, you do not have bad memory. So that was myth number 1. Let's talk about myth number 2. You must have heard this from some friends who recently cleared exams. You would have asked them, how did you manage to clear theory papers? And they will just say on the go that I just attended that famous faculty's class and that sir or madam's notes was there. I just revised the class notes and I went to the exam straight away and I got 60 plus. If you hear this from somebody who make it look so easy, don't believe that. The person who said the same must have done much more than what they are saying it on the outside. It never worked for me, definitely, and most likely it will not work for you. So don't think that the other person was able to do this in an extremely easy way and I have to toil this hard. Everybody has to work hard. Let's accept that reality. So this is myth number 2. Don't fall for this. Now let's talk about the ground rules. The first one is, whatever the system that I'm going to introduce you, follow this only with 100% institute study material. No cheat sheets from faculties, no fast track references, and no one-page AI summaries. No, definitely not. Whatever that you are going to do, take the institute study material, take the long route, don't take shortcuts, read the entire chapter cover to cover. So that is first rule. The second rule is, while you are studying, don't get into research mode. Your aim is only to have a reasonable understanding. Lower your expectation and don't think that when you read a passage, when you read a page, when you read a provision, that you should have an absolute expert level understanding right at the first go. Don't have such expectation. For example, if you are reading a provision of sweat equity shares, you will see some provisions like the sweat equity shares must be of the same class which was already issued, and the company must pass a special resolution to issue such a sweat equity shares. These are some basic points within that topic. When you read such points, you just have to know, okay, there are 2 conditions, shares of same class which have already been issued, first point. Second point is the company must pass special resolution. You just have to understand, okay, these 2 points exist. Don't get into research mode that why the company should pass special resolution and not ordinary resolution. I totally appreciate curiosity. Even I am an extremely curious person. I love to learn a lot of things. But when you have exam in the next 60, 70 days, curiosity can be a liability. Don't get into research mode. Don't see such things and immediately go to Quora or Reddit or have some WhatsApp group or start Googling about these things. Don't do such things. Let's go to the next rule, which is plain extensive reading and no cramming. You take a page, you take a topic. If the topic goes for 17 pages, you just read the topic, the full 17 pages, like how you read a magazine. plain reading. Again, like I said just before, you are expected to have a reasonable understanding. You should have that awareness of what topic you are studying and what sentence that you are currently reading. You should be able to at least have a reasonable idea in your mother tongue. Okay, I am reading about this chapter and this particular topic talks about this. Don't need to cram. A lot of students, particularly in CA Foundation and Inter, they still don't let go of the habits that they developed in their schooling. Don't try to read a CA Inter law like how you read your class 12 business studies. That method doesn't work here. I have seen a lot of students sitting with one page for more than 15 minutes. In a whole hour of hard, toiling studies, they would have covered only 4 pages. And then they will see one chapter in law will have 80-90 pages, and then they get completely overwhelmed. They will start to think that when am I going to finish this? So no cramming. So that's rule number 3. Let's talk about rule number 4, which is the final rule before we get to the actual solution. You can underline, you can annotate all within the study material itself, but you should not do any separate note making. Complete waste of time. Let the institute study material be the one and only material that you go to it again and again. Now let me take you to the actual system. So the first step that you have to do is copy paste all the names of theory paper chapters in an Excel sheet, and next to it plot the number of pages in each and every chapter that you have taken it. This is the example that I'm showing you for Inter law paper. We are going to read a single chapter for 5 rounds. That means every theory paper we are going to cover and read for at least 5 rounds. Let me show you the next sheet. This is the tracker sheet, which is against every chapter I have introduced 5 columns to track how many rounds that we have covered, and all the cells in this columns will have the date format. So the formula is written in such a way that, let's say you have studied today prospectus and allotment of securities chapter for 62 pages. You update the day that you have studied this chapter, and next to it you just have to simply copy paste whatever is in the above cell. Now these cells will tell you by when you should do round 2 revision, round 3 revision, round 4 revision and round 5 revision. I have spaced this intervals in such a manner that you do the second round immediately after the very next day when you read the first round, and round 3 you do after 3 days from the date of revising round 2, and round 4 you do after 7 days, and round 5 you do after 10 days of doing round 4. So that means if you study chapter 3 for the first time today, you are going to read it for the second time tomorrow itself, and then the third time on 30th June, fourth time on 7th July, and fifth time on 17th July. You can see each and every round has increasing time gap. So that means when you read a topic today, you are supposed to forget it. That's the natural way the brain works. So whatever you are reading today for one round, you will forget it, but then you allow yourself to forget, and then you reintroduce that chapter again and again. I can show you with the help of a diagram. Now this is how the spaced repetition system works. Now you can see when you read a material for the first time, you see the rate at which the brain forgets. See how fast the information leakage happens. This is the reason why when you read a theory paper for the first time and only time, after some 10-15 days, you feel that you have not even studied the chapter or not. You would start to doubt yourself. See, after 20-30 days, you almost remember not even 5 to 10% of what you studied. But this situation is there only if you read it for one time. So you immediately do it a second revision, a third revision. Every time you revise, your memory retention goes back to 100. But after each and every revision, you see the slope of forgetting thing levels out, and it is not that steep like how it is after the first round. So here it is given like 8th repetition in this diagram, but we are going to do 5 revisions. So the level of confidence that you will get after reading a chapter for one time and after reading the chapter for 5 times is completely different. This system is called spaced repetition system. A lot of doctors and other professional people who study a lot of memory intensive curriculum follow this method, follow this system. Now let me also take you to the next segment, which is the time estimate. Now if you see the law paper, we had roughly 900 pages. Now let us also eliminate the 100 non-core pages that the paper has, like introduction pages, learning outcome, and then the last page, blank pages, and then summary, test your knowledge, so on and so forth. Let us assume there are some 100 pages that you are not going to seriously study. So the core text, let us imagine it had 800 pages. I myself am a slow reader, by the way. I can read only 200 to 250 words per minute. So before making this video, I wanted to test myself in the first place. How long does it take for me to read a page from the Institute study material? So I opened the CA Inter Law study material from the Institute and I read around 5 pages. It took me 10 minutes to complete 5 pages with absolute normal speed. Normally it takes 2 minutes for a person to read 1 page of ISM, but let us double that and let us do some worst case estimation. Even if it takes 4 minutes for you to read a page plainly and extensively, it will take 3200 minutes for you to complete round 1. And so 3200 minutes is 53 hours. This is for you to complete the entire CA Inter Law round 1. And then you do it round 2, it will take 50 hours because you will experience some amount of learning curve. But let me tell you, between round 1 to round 2 and round 2 to round 3, you will not experience a lot of time savings. The learning curve will not be that great. But when you finish round 3 and go to round 4, you will experience a huge amount of time savings. You will complete the entire paper's revision, the 4th round, in a much faster rate. So it will take roughly 30 hours. And the last round, you will do it even faster, which will take only 20 hours. So the approximate amount of time that it will take for you to complete the law paper with 5 rounds of revision is roughly 200 hours. Don't get anchored to this number. Now you will start to think that, okay, law itself is going to take 200 hours. I have accounts also, I have DT and GST also. When am I going to study? No. Don't get anchored to this number and don't let this number overwhelm you. Remember I said this 4 minutes per page is a worst case scenario. If you don't dwell on a single paragraph and if you don't go back tracing and keep rereading the same paragraph or same sentence again and again, if you do a plain extensive reading, it will take 2.5 and 3 minutes only for you to read a page. So that means even round 1 itself, you will do at a much faster pace. So my estimate is you will be able to do 5 rounds of revision in 140 to 150 hours. Okay. But for safer side, I have given 198. Even if you consider this as the actual thing and let's say it took exactly this amount of time for you, you are not going to do 5 rounds of revision for accounts. So let's say accounts will be 100 to 120 hours. You will be able to finish at least 2 to 3 rounds of decent revision. And law, let's say it took you 198. DT, it will take roughly 80 to 100 hours. Let's keep 100 hours. And GST, it might take 140 to 150 hours because that is also again a theory intensive paper. If you calculate all this, you get a rough estimation of 558 hours. If you manage to study for 7.5 to 8 hours every day, and if you manage to do that for 60 to 70 days, you will be able to do almost 80 to 90% of this method. You will be able to execute, if not fully perfectly, at least 90% of this method. And I'm very sure you will feel completely different about law paper and auditing paper after reading a chapter for 4 rounds. Let's say if you are still skeptical, do A/B testing. Now take a couple of chapters and follow my method with increasing time intervals. Read that particular chapter for 5 times and then take another chapter and use your method of, let's say if you're a person who crams, or let's say if you're a person who just thinks that one time study is enough. Follow whatever method that you are using for that chapter and compare the results. Compare how confident you feel about that particular chapter. So I hope this system is useful to you. Also let me know in the comment section if you genuinely get some difficulties to implement this. I will try to help you. I will see you in the next video. Thank you and bye bye.